filming that we were going to do. And my kids are so sweet, and they went along with this, and they did such a great job. And I can't say that the woman who came to our house was so horrible, but the house that I went to was horrible. I could have never been prepared for a polyamorous household. Yeah, and for those who don't know, what a polyamorous household is, I'm really happy for you. But it's a little like a polygamous household, only without the love and without the marriage part. So the guy just gets to have kind of as many girlfriends and babies, mama babies, baby mamas, whatever, as he wants, and there's no real allegiance, and it's just very, very sexually degrading, I guess. And I come from the school, my mom taught me that, you can make your choice about what you want to do in life, but sexual purity pays in the long run, every time. So I went to where I didn't know I was going, somewhere in New York. The house was filthy, the guy was mean, the kids were, it was so sad. It was really so sad. And of course, none of this was depicted on TV, right? I started trying to teach them what fruits and vegetables are because they didn't know, and they ate mostly chocolate and drank chocolate milk and had the impending diseases that come with all of that. And they instead depict me as some sort of food Nazi, mean mom, et cetera, et cetera. I pull out my Bible and throw it at them every time, just ridiculous. But this went on, and this was not pleasant. And do you all know the term Stockholm Syndrome? Raise your hand if you don't, and I'll explain it. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological factor. My too many letters behind my name say that I studied psychology for way too long and learned a lot of liberalism, and that's about all I learned. But Stockholm Syndrome is a real thing, and I didn't know it was a real thing until this point, where you begin to identify with your captor if you were kidnapped. And we have examples in history, but I don't have time to go into those anyway. There's a bit of that in these shows because they detach you from your world. I had no contact with the outside world, no phone, no computer, no ability to talk to my family, and I was completely in this cocoon of the show, while enduring mental, emotional, sexual harassment and torture in ways I can't even tell you. And anyway, what I want to say about that, though, is that despite all the mean things and the threats, not just from the guy who was the polyamorous dude that was on there, and the things that he said to me, like he would come and kill me if I ever told my story, things like that. Not just that, but even the producers, they had the whole script pre-written. A producer afterwards who took a liking to me sent me the pre-written emails of the scripts, right, that they wrote before I was ever on there to try to make my husband and me look bad. And so people afterwards would ask me, why did you do it? And I'd say, well, I did it because guess what? I was the first wife ever to walk off of the show, Wife Swap, before the table setting. And guess what? I started a trend. They don't even do the show anymore, I don't think, because now a lot of wives will walk off the set if they do things like this to them. So that was one victory, but there was another victory that I want to tell you about. There was a very, very liberal gay talk show host in New York. And he came on Twitter to harass me like everyone else was that week. And every time they play our wife swap, I can tell that they played it because I start getting harassing texts and emails and DMs and all that good stuff. Just like you all do, right? All the time, don't you? But I responded in love. I don't know why. Sometimes God lays it on your heart to just respond in love, and you do, even when someone's really nasty. He didn't forget that. He converted. He became a Christian. He became a conservative radio talk show host. He became one of my dear friends. And unbeknownst to me, my friend Xander died about a year ago. And what an amazing thing. God uses all things for the glory of those who love him and live according to his precepts every time. So that was one example where living the truth really paid off, and I couldn't see how at the time because I hated it. I mean, I wasn't even a person that ever went to therapy, but you needed therapy to get out of this. My poor kids, forever. I mean, it was a really bad experience. Not the way they depicted us so much. We knew how we'd be depicted, but what happened to us while we were actually participating in that show. But, you go on. it inspires you to do the next hard thing and to tell the truth again and to go boldly and profess it. I learned a lot of this when I decided I wanted to adopt a child with Down syndrome. Now, you might not think that's the hardest thing to do, right? Adopting a child with Down syndrome. You probably think that it'd be pretty easy, right? But did you know there are 300 families in the United States wanting to adopt a child with Down syndrome right now? Did you know that? Because you know what? The left's not going to tell you that. But I'll tell you that. So for 10 years, here was my plan. I called Planned Parenthood every year, and I said, I want to adopt a child with Down syndrome or any special needs. And I made this little book. You know, I mean, I'm a homeschool mom. We do the arts and crafts, right? I made this little book, and my husband's Senate office. My husband was a senator in Missouri. I homeschooled all my kids there. I loved that phase of my life. And while they were doing their little art projects, I was making these little books, and I would send them to Planned Parenthood, and I would say, if you have a girl come in, or a woman, whatever, and she maybe doesn't want to kill her baby, would you please send her to my family? We'd love to talk to her about adopting her baby. Well, in 10 years of trying, how many calls do you think I got from someone at Planned Parenthood? 0. Finally, one day, see, I should have had you around. You could have told me. Finally, I got a lady to answer the phone at Planned Parenthood, and you know what she said to me? We're not in the business of adoption. Yeah, that's not their business. That's not their business model. They make billions of your tax dollar money. That's the reason why they're in the business they're in. I was not going to get a baby that way, but you know what? On my birthday, which is January 27th, this is going to mean something in a minute, 1/27, right? That's my birthday. On that day, I was on bed rest. I had just miscarried twin boys. When I miscarried the twin boys, I called my best friend. I do what we all do, right? When we're in crisis, call my best friend from high school, Niall, and I said, Niall, you know, this is happening to me. I'm holding these 2 little lifeless babies in my left hand. I've got 3 toddlers downstairs trying to take care of me because I was on bed rest for this pregnancy, and I lost it, obviously. And she said these words, these true words that were hard to say in this moment. She said, God will restore what the locusts have eaten away, Gina. You have to stand now in this moment in faith. I was so mad I almost hung up on her. I literally didn't speak to her for months. How could you say such a thing to someone going through what I was going through? I thought it was the most unkind thing I'd ever heard. And I'd heard a lot of unkind things. When I set out to adopt Samuel to begin with, our child with Down syndrome, when I set out to adopt him, I had friends say things to me, this really happened, say, it's selfish of you. You're ruining your family pictures. I had friends say that to me. So you can't believe the things people say. But this was offensive because you don't use God against me in this moment. God's not going to restore the twin babies I just lost, right? Well, so on my birthday, 1/27, I'm laying on the couch. I get a phone call. And you know those phone calls, you just kind of know it's going to be a something phone call? It was like that. And it was a Christian adoption agency. And they said, we have a baby that was born. He has 10 congenital abnormalities, including Down syndrome. He's probably going to die. He's already on a feeding tube, but we'd like to put your name on his death certificate if you would be willing to adopt him. Now, I have 3 toddlers that are excited about this baby I'm pregnant with right now, because I'm pregnant again now, right? And they're doing everything they can to take care of me in their little ways. You know, I remember Lida cooking this horrible bark soup that came from trees, and my midwife said that anyway. It's awful, but it was worth it. But anyway, so I call my husband. He has his major pro-life legislation, which, by the way, subsequently became the landmark legislation that makes it so if you're a doctor, you can't live more than 30 miles. You can't take a girl across state lines for abortion, whatever. You see that law all over the country now. That's my husband's. It stood up under the Supreme Court. And he happened to be in the governor's office that day negotiating that bill. And that's, of course, when I call. I'm like, honey, oh gosh, there's this baby, and they say he's going to die, but he might not die, and they just need a family to adopt him, and can we? And he says, call him back and say yes. Now, Gina, I've got to get back in this meeting. And I said, call him and say yes? He goes, yes, call him and say yes. Honey, I really got to go. I've got to get back in this meeting. I stepped out to take this call. I go, but the baby's in Tampa, Florida, and we're in Missouri, and we have to drive there. I don't even know how we're going to go. He goes, your mom's a nurse. Put her on a plane. Go have her love on that baby. We'll get there as soon as we can. He said, oh, and by the way, guess what? You're the mother of twin boys. God did restore what the locusts ate away. One of those twin boys is right there, Bo Loudon. And the other, I don't know where the family picture is, but the other one is my beautiful son, Samuel, that we ultimately did adopt. And he is the shining light in our lives. We call him the belly laugh. He, by the way, has a book coming out. My daughter Lily wrote a book, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but we have a book coming out about Samuel. It's a children's book, and you're going to love this one. So all of this kind of points to where we are today, because God is devising a path. The moment our faith is even slightly rattled, right? The moment you start to go, can we put this, and you guys, oh my gosh, what you've endured. I want to give kudos to you, honestly. You've had your country stolen. You've had an election stolen. You've had your restrooms taken over by men who say they're women, and you've had your entire gender completely just undermined, right? I am so proud that you're here and you're standing today. And I want to make that road just a little bit easier if I can by just sharing a couple of more things with you. I've written 3 books. My story about Samuel, by the way, is in, I think, all 3 of my books. You can just find them on Amazon like anything else. But I decided to write 3 books and release them all in this year. So I do have 3 more books coming out this year. The one about Samuel I told you. Another one that's kind of like a prayers answered journal coming out that I'm co-writing with a friend. And then my 3rd book is about the dark side of transgenderism. And I want you all to know there's a very dark side. I've studied psychology forever, and I can attest to this. I have so many truth bombs I'm going to drop on their twisted little world of using, mutilating, and manipulating children in this whole journey, and I'm going to share that with you in this book. But I want to do one thing really fast because I'm almost out of time. This is something I've never done. The Pledge of Allegiance, we've said it a million times. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Is it up there? There it is. Not that you don't know the words, but I want to point something out. See this? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, comma, one nation under God. Not one nation under God. We are one nation under God. Never let them put a separation in that sentence. There is no separation in that sentence. So with that, and I tell you, now I'm saying this to you, you think it's cute now, but you're not gonna like me the next time someone stands up and makes you say the pledge and you've got to say one nation under God and you're talking all by yourself because you're standing there for truth right in the midst of that crowd, but you're gonna do it. So let's do it together. Stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to close with the same thing I say every night on our show. I hope you'll join us. I want to pray you forward. I want you to know I will be praying for you. And I want you to stop by the Real America's Voice, if you can, booth, and say hello to us. We're on Media Row. You all go boldly now and live the truth. God bless you.